Good afternoon. This is Kristen Depew with the Jefferson County Post, and we are welcoming newly re-elected Commissioner Jim Carmichael, who also serves as the chairman of the county commission and has for many years, in different sections, but total, how many years have you served?
Almost 16. I'll be 16 in August.
All right, and before we get started today, I want to be sure to get a shout out to our sponsors. Dr. Warren Stinson, he's on Broadway in Jefferson City. He's great for any of your dental needs. And Good Old Boys Golf Carts and they're in Sevierville and in Dandridge, they're on Highway 92. Be sure to stop in there and pick up a great golf cart. And so now we're going to talk about, we've just come out of a really contentious election season. Now we're not all the way out of the woods yet, but we've come out of a really contentious election season. Have you known of election season in the past 25 years that's been this bad?
Not in my life. I mean, this has been the craziest election cycle that I have ever partook in. That, you've got special factions of us and them competing on Facebook. I think Facebook has made this election just almost hard to watch.
I think I agree with you on that. It has been very difficult to watch, and the numbers were surprisingly low for such a heavy election ballot, because every county commissioner was up for election. Every county commission seat, let's put it that way, was up for election. We had a mayoral election, Republican nomination going on, and we also had sheriff and a highly contested trustee election. So we voted just over 7,000 people. I think it was 7,077, something close to that. And that's not very many people for such a big election cycle.
Well, it was really, to me, it was kind of a sad turnout, but it seems like every year, this is my 5th election. And I've been on since 2010, and, with good Lord willing, I'll be here till 2030. And, if you look at past elections, the issues come out, the issues get talked about, they get lied about. The biggest thing in this election that really hurt my feelings is the people that was wanting to become a commissioner, that was accusing all the commissioners that we had of being dishonest, lying, cheating, stealing. And the hits that the actual commissioners took, I just call that dirty mudslinging. You got somebody on the outside looking in, and all you can accuse somebody of is being dishonest. You got to know more about the commission than that.
So I'm going to ask you a question, just a straightforward question. Regardless of how this current commission votes, whether they vote in favor of something or not in favor, there's a definite split on the current commission. But every single commissioner that is sitting, do you know of anyone who has misappropriated funds?
No. There is a very slim chance of that ever happening in Jefferson County, because our finance department being separate from the mayor's office, we're under the Act of 81. We're held accountable for every dollar, of every cent, of everything that goes on. And it's all double checked twice at the end of every month. And that's why I took offense. I had a competitor that wanted to talk about it and say, he could find all that money that's being wasted. And if you want to know what money's being wasted, look at the rollover here in a few months. We're fixing to settle a new budget, and when we roll our money back, that money don't just get bloated and spent like it does in other counties. In Jefferson County, that money is rolled back into the general fund. We call it a rollover. And when that money comes back, you see what was left that department didn't need. You see what they didn't spend. And we don't just frivolously waste it thinking, well, they're not going to give it back to me if I don't spend it. That don't happen in Jefferson County.
So I know that we're going to talk a little bit about some myths and let's say less than facts that might need a little clarification here. So there was a conversation on social media, we're going to put it that way, that and for full disclosure, I might have participated in that discussion a little bit just for clarity, where there was some accusations about the use of a savings account to balance, robbing the savings account to balance the 26-27 fiscal year budget, which, for those who do not know, the budget committee has sent it to the full body for June with a 0 property tax increase.
Sure.
And some people were saying, well, that was disingenuous. There is no true savings account in county government.
No. There is no true, what you would call a savings account. All the money is real. All the money is in certain positions for a reason. You're talking about the debt service fund. And there was people in this last cycle before the election that wanted to spend that fund down. And if you spend that fund down and not have money on hand, we've had prisoners at the jail that we've had to spend from $300,000 to $500,000 on. Where are you going to get that money to take care of the problems and unforeseen emergency funds? And there's been a lot of talk about the hospital fund. And we can actually spend part of the interest off the hospital fund. But that money is our savings account in case we ever need to do something in an emergency. And I just said it like it's a savings account, but it's really not. But it's making the county money. Now, we are making money off that money.
The debt service money was one part of, I think, what the confusion was about. But another part of the confusion was about the rollover fund. Mm-hmm. And the use of that money to help balance the budget. And it was a very nominal use, actually, to be honest.
Sure.
But that is a common practice, correct? To use those rollover funds. The taxpayers have already paid those monies.
That's right.
And to not use those monies to balance the budget and go back to the taxpayer would be a little disingenuous, correct?
That would be correct, entirely correct.
So the fund that they're talking about is your actual general operating fund. It's like your general checking account, correct?
There you go.
And it is not any kind of a savings account or assigned money. There's assigned money and there's reserved money that are for different projects and whatever, but there is not really a slush fund.
No,
Jefferson.
There's never been a slush fund in Jefferson County. And we have different funds that we laid back for economic development. Here a while back, quite a few years back, we actually had an extra $1 million that we put in a fund for that. Our hotel motel tax money goes into that fund. And hotel motel can only be spent for economic development or entertainment.
Right.
So it's a very narrow avenue of what you can actually use that money for.
So we're going to talk a little bit about the fact that I think there's going to be at least 9. We know there's going to be at least 9 new commissioners, right? Maybe and there could be 11. Because for folks who don't realize, there are some independents that are challenging for seats still in the August election. So there is not
actually in three different districts.
Right. So it's in 2, 8, and
5.
No, it's 5.
4? Could be 4.
It's Strawberry Plains. Oh yeah, 4. No, there's another one too.
Jordan Jennings.
And Jordan Jennings is an independent, and then Strawberry Plains has an independent. Yes. The incumbent commissioner in Strawberry Plains. And Strawberry Plains is so you had and then also the mayor's race has an independent running. So there's still some question. I did talk to the election commission about provisional votes and because in District 8. There was only 11 votes that separated the second and the third place. Those 11 votes are going to hold. There's not enough provisional votes that are out there that would change that. So that's going to hold. But, you're going to have a lot of new commissioners. At the end of the day, what that says is this commission is going to change drastically.
What we're going to have is a major influx of new ideas that a lot of people's going to have a lot of ideas and stuff that they want to do, and they're going to find out they can't.
And then it's always a learning curve, isn't it?
There's going to be a major learning curve because they're going to have to take classes. They can do them online. They got to learn how to be a commissioner. There's a difference in campaigning for a job and being able to do the job.
So during this campaign, did you hear a lot of people who were making suggestions or suppositions that certain things that can be done that just absolutely cannot be done by the county commission?
Sure.
At the end of the day, the county commission is a legislative and funding body.
It is a legislative body, that is a legislative process. And the deal with that is that people don't realize is we're no different than a senator or a congressman. You don't hold true power unless all the commissioners are in the same room and vote together.
And that is going to be a challenge with so many. I don't remember this many new commissioners coming in several cycles.
2010, we had 10.
Did you, was it?
I was the first class of 2010, and we had 10 brand new commissioners. And with me, it took me the first year to learn what I'm doing. The people that wants to argue for term limits, that is a beautiful talking point, but it's really nonsense. It'll take you a term to learn how the county operates. It'll take you 6 months to learn how to read a budget. We have commissioners right now that still don't understand budgets. I had 8 commissioners that had never passed their class to be a county commissioner. One of them run for mayor.
And so we have a lot of new coming on. So with this new and this learning curve, I'm sure that you have, as a senior commissioner, I'm sure that you have things that you're looking for in this next fiscal year. Right. You're looking to get done in this next fiscal year. And can you tell us a little bit about, because you are not challenged, you're in. So can you tell us about what you're...
You know, my first job as the chairman right now is, you know, we're going to have a mass meeting of the elected officials before they actually get sworn into office. We got to have a meet and greet. We got to get everybody on the same playing field. Everybody's going to have to understand, because their first meeting in September, you know, that's going to be mass confusion, because there's going to be a lot of people that ain't going to understand what we're talking about and what we're doing. So the veterans are going to have to help the others. And that's when people find out that being a commissioner is not what I thought it was. I'm not the boss. I'm the legislator. There's a difference. You vote to fund or you don't vote to fund. You don't get to say so telling the department heads what they are and are not going to do. You can say, well, I don't support that.
And then also you have the caveat of having a brand new mayor that will be coming in.
Yes.
So there's a lot of new that's going to be happening.
There's going to be enough new to go around to everything. And then, you know, after a couple of 3 meetings this fall, when everybody starts settling in, they actually learn what parliamentary procedure is, why we have to follow it. And then they got to learn that, you know, when you're in the public view, you got to act accordingly. You can't just stand up and say all kinds of foolishness because they're just going to paint you. You're going to get painted a different color, and you just can't do that. You got to learn that when the public's watching you, there's kids in the back of the room that are listening to every word you say. So, you know, me above all, I got to watch what I say and how I say it.
Well, I know that Jefferson County, and I'm sure any county, but Jefferson County has its fair share of lawsuits. I mean, there's always a lot of legal activity that goes on with government. And one of the big talking points in this election was the situation in Piedmont.
Sure.
And it has been common knowledge that there was legal action attached to that particular situation. What is, you know, it kind of was a dividing issue. That and the wheel tax were the two.
Most people get into the rock quarry in Piedmont and they say, well, that was a lawsuit, we sued them. Well, no, we didn't. Whaley Construction sued Jefferson County for a reason. Is the Jefferson County Board of Appeals in zoning overthrew Tim Seal's decision to say it's okay to start what they started in A1 district. And at the time, in my opinion, they followed the rules. But most people think that lawsuit's turned around and we're suing them to stop it. And you know, that's not what happened. They sued us and they won. We spent in excess of $40,000 in a courtroom for the chancellor to have already told us twice, no, I filed right the first time. So, you know, we have 30 days right now to appeal it, and, you know, getting into the specifics of it, we can't get real deep into the specifics, but the point of the whole thing is you're looking at a county strapped for cash. We're looking at the possibility that if that actual, quote, rock quarry, or what you want to call it, was approved, There is major sales tax walking out of this county right now.
So let me clarify for folks that are coming into this and they have limited knowledge of what's going on. If they're approved and Jefferson County is not able to capitalize on it in some way, then you get all of the bad and you legally have to take all the bad.
Yes.
But you get no benefit.
That's right. That's right. So where we're at here is this rock's being cut out of the ground, and it's hauled to Sevier County and being crushed because they cannot have a rock crusher in an A1 zone. Can't even have a screen plant.
So what zone do you have to have
You
a
have to have at least an I2, an industrial 2 zone, to operate a rock quarry heavy construction.
And I don't want to put you in any kind of, because I know you still have decisions to make regarding how far this is going and whatnot, but that is going to be something on the table in this next.
It's coming like a thunderstorm right now.
Okay.
But because here's where we're at. We was able to settle this budget this year.
Right.
But if we're going to have new revenue, we need it now.
And
Now, if you've got an industry that's worth roughly $800 to $1 million a year to this county, that would like to come to your county, that's a willing participant, willing to go above and beyond,
and they're already here legally.
and they're already here legally, and you know, when you start appealing, we're just throwing good money after bad, in my opinion. You know, a lot of people say I'm biased to it because I'm in the construction industry. I look right now at what rock is bringing in the surrounding counties. I look at what it's doing, and they're, in a sense, they're hauling all that gravel right back to Dandridge. You know, Jefferson County rock is leaving, so you've got twice as many trucks. So you can cut the trucks in half. Let's just say for a moment, if you give these people their I2 designation, and they bring their whole business to Jefferson County, half of them trucks will be gone because you're not hauling it out and hauling it back. You know, common sense would tell you that if their sales tax is running anywhere from 40 to 60 grand a month, what could we do in Jefferson County schools and in our county with that kind of money? And you looking at personal property tax, you're looking at the revenue of the whole business. You know, that is a major thing. That to me, that's just like bringing in another Walmart. That's like bringing in another Old Dominion van lines. You know, nobody wants to cover the county up with all businesses and not have something to look at. And I'm all about that. But the point of it is, we have to have a revenue to get away from raising property tax every 15 minutes. We have to have a plan. That's why in the near future, the new mayor is going to be calling for meetings with everybody, all hands on deck, economic development, industrial development board. We got to seek out and help our businesses that we have right now. And we've got to seek out business that would fit our model in Jefferson County to where we can get away from the property tax every 15 minutes. But we need somebody that's going to pay to help us run this county, so we can modernize, we can preserve our old ways. But no matter if you like it or not, we're moving up, or we're going to be gobbled up. So decide which one you want to do. Do you want to develop, or do you want everybody to develop it for you? How many people want to raise their hand and say, I want to build 1,000 more new homes? That's what Hamlin County's looking at right now. You know, they're looking at over 1,000 new homes built in a lot of different places. And you know, after a while, we're going to look like an Indian reservation with all the teepees. You know, they're going to be as far as you can see. And I mean, I would rather see a successful business that pays good tax. You know, in the past, we've had commissioners that have railed against every business that come in here. I wanted to see that the meat packing plant, i.e. the slaughterhouse that everybody run around talking about, well, Jefferson County lost that and it went to Greene County. So the people in Greene County and Sevier County have enjoyed enough of Jefferson County's money. We need to be looking for land. We need to be doing something to preserve how Jefferson County was here to start with. And we need to start now.
So let's talk about wheel tax for a second, because that's another revenue stream that we have in Jefferson County. And it was a hot topic during this election.
Oh,
It is.
sure.
It
Oh, sure.
continues to be a hot topic, and it goes to referendum. Now, is it the $35 wheel tax that goes to
Yes,
referendum?
yes.
Okay, it goes to referendum in what, 2 years? In
27, 28.
28, I think. So, what does the current wheel tax a roundabout bring it into Jefferson County? How many property tax pennies? Let's just go to what it hits people's pockets.
Here's where we're at. When I come on the commission in 2010, a penny on the property tax was $111,000. Today, it's worth roughly just a shade over $250,000 for that same penny. That's what building a bunch of houses that you can't afford to keep up does. Okay, when you get into the numbers of what we're actually doing here, we've got to find a middle of the road to define who we are. And you know, it's kind of hard to explain, and I'm trying to make up my mind which way to go to really explain it the best way. But what you're going to look at is the if you step outside of normal in what you're trying to do, and you look back at what you have done, we know that what we have done hasn't worked real well. Does that make sense?
Sure.
And you know, it's no different than the rock quarry. It's no different in a regular wheel tax. Is that $35 wheel tax brings in a little over $1.4 million. That's 6 pennies on the property tax on $35.
So if that wheel tax went away, you are starting at 6 pennies.
You're starting at 6 pennies to replace. And see, now here a couple of years back when we lost that wheel tax, when it sunsetted, there was 2 years there that we was losing at $25. We was losing $1.1 million, almost $1.2 million a year. So that put us $2.2 million upside down by the time we got the wheel tax back.
So what people have to understand, I think this is a general problem with people who don't understand budgets, is that when you say 6 cents, you're not talking about, like everybody, my power goes up, my electric bill goes up every year. All your utilities go up every year. Your cost of insurance goes up every year. You're not talking about paying for those things. You're saying it's 6 cents. No, without those costs coming.
Without those costs, that's exactly correct. And most people don't realize when we talk about pennies, they think that's a shortcut. Well, that's the easiest way for us to describe to you the cost of doing business.
So what you're saying is that for people who are not understanding, I'm just going to give a brief. You take whatever your property tax is, and for ease, it is not this, okay? So disclaimer. But let's say it's $1, okay? Mm-hmm. Let's say that for just ease of figuring, property tax is $1. When he's talking about pennies, they take all the pennies in $1 and they allocate up where those pennies are going to go.
Sure.
And so whatever the property tax rate is, all those pennies are divided up into different funds. Mm-hmm. And each property tax penny is worth a little, I think you all budget on 95%, so it's just shy of $250,000 right now.
Yes.
So it is, you're talking about a lot of money, folks. When you're talking about 6 pennies, that's a lot of money you're redoing. I know that property tax is going to be a question, and this commission is going to have to deal with it because they're going to be sitting during this next referendum.
The difference is we had people that campaigned that, well, I'm not for raising property tax. Oh, well, I'm not for the wheel tax and I'll never approve it. And they actually ran on that lie that they told people. And here's the fact, at the end of the day, the bill's got to be paid. Mm-hmm. And I don't think I know anybody that can write that check.
Yeah.
So we're right back to the beginning of you as a commissioner. You're going to do things that fundamentally you're really going to struggle with doing. But at the end of the day, we got to make the marks. If you don't fund it, just like a couple of years back, we had some commissioners, I believe that's 5 or 6 of them, that voted to spend the money, and then they didn't vote to set the tax rate. Oh, well, I don't want to raise taxes. Well, how can you do that? You've done spent the money. I equate that to going to a bar and drinking beer all night, and it comes time to pay the tab. Well, I ain't got no money. Same difference. You enjoy the benefit, but you don't want to pay the bill. So and that's how I know that there's going to be a lot of commissioners, new commissioners, that's gonna struggle with that. They're gonna say, well, I don't wanna raise taxes, I'm afraid I'm gonna hurt somebody. Well, it's gonna hurt somebody anyway.
So
You're gonna pay the bill at the end of the day, or the state comptroller's office will come in and set your tax rate for you and make you do it.
So I'm going to ask you a question. Jim Carmichael, Commissioner, do you want to raise taxes ever?
No.
You don't want to raise taxes.
No. Won't even, you know, when it comes down to it, you know, I call it a necessary evil. That you're going to have to do something. I mean, it's like paying the IRS. Does everybody want to write an income tax check? No. But do you got to? Yeah. As long as you want to enjoy your freedom, you'll write that check. So I call it money well spent.
So we have a year coming up. We've got 4 years coming up, but we're going to have a big learning curve year. That's going to happen in Jefferson County. And at the end of the day, I know you're sitting as chair right now, and you know, I know they elect a chair in September. But is bringing this group of commissioners together to function as a full body number one on your list?
Yes, it is. You know, as an existing chairman, my job is to try to bring everybody together and find a common ground that we can work with. Now, when people come into the commission with a preconceived notion and an agenda, that's the worst type of commissioner we can have in Jefferson County. I love the people that come in and say, hey, I want to do good for my district. I want to be as good as I can to my people. And I just want to do the right thing. Them people, we can talk about every issue with. But when you've got somebody that comes in and says, well, I'm just out here to find out where y'all wasting all the money, and we're going to take all that money and do something great with it, well, you're in for a big disappointment. Because you're not going to find what you're looking for. The weenie don't exist. You know, our last budget, we just had $151,000 left. The money that's in, you know, the money that's in the general fund comes out of rollover. So, you know, that's all the money we got. There is no big slush fund that you're going to just go find all of this money that everybody's going to go find. Well, sorry, it doesn't exist.
So I got 2 questions for you, and these are questions that come into the Jefferson County Post, and they're just a yes or no answer because we're gonna round up here. But one, would you support cell phones being turned off during county commission meetings?
I surely would.
For county commissioners?
I surely would. And you know, I am guilty of actually using a cell phone in a county commission meeting, but it's not for what I fear some of them are doing. You know, a department head may send me a message on my phone and say, hey, Jim, you forgot this. You know, don't forget to do this, you know. But there's a big difference in people taking messages and conducting business while they're in a public meeting. And I for one, I'm for turning them all off, leaving them in a box at the door. And you'll find out that some of these commissioners might not know as much as when their phone ain't working.
And then secondly, and I guess we're down to a yes or no because we're running out of time. But would you be in favor of limiting the amount of letters that are read in by county commissioners? That is another question.
Not only am I in favor of limiting letters from other people being read, is I'm actually going to stop it in the next meeting as chairman. The county commission, if I have to show up to be the chairman of the commission or an ordinary commissioner, I'm good either way, but I show up to make my word known, to represent my people. So if you want to be known to the commission, you need to show up. If you can't make this meeting, make the next one. But my point is we're not going to stand up here and read letters from everybody in the neighborhood because you read better. You know, it's a public meeting, so be public, show up yourself. My message is, come yourself. We want to see your smiling face. And you know, that's the only way I know to say that.
That sounds great. I know that you guys have the county commission has a lot of work ahead.
Sure.
There's a lot of learning curve ahead, and we're going to be watching. So we appreciate your time. Reminding everybody that it's not over for every district.
That is exactly
everybody needs to get out and you still have August, folks.
I appreciate everybody that listens to us talk and answer questions and stuff, and I hope that everybody gets a chance to come to a meeting one day to where they can actually see what really goes on, and if there's questions, send me an email, send me a text, and I'll try to answer it if I can. If
You've always
not,
been-
we'll let somebody else answer it.
You've always been very open and responsive. We appreciate you coming here with the Jefferson County Post. I'm sure we will be talking to you again, probably right after the budget is settled. And we appreciate our sponsors. Thank you to Dr. Warren Stinson, Jefferson City is on Broadway. And thank you to Good Old Boys Golf Carts on Highway 92 in Dandridge and in Sevierville. Stop by and give those folks a visit. Thank you very much from the Jefferson County Post, and we will be back with you soon.
Appreciate you having me.